Something very bad is about to happen. Something that's going to kick up a lot of shit and is potentially going to cause problems into the future. But UEFA and FIFA just UEFA insists this is not a regular thing yet. In fact, UEFA is apparently having its feet held to the fire on this one. What has happened, kind of out of nowhere, is UEFA has approved league matches, one from La Liga and one from Serie A, to be played outside of their countries, outside of Spain and Italy. The Villarreal Barcelona match will be in Miami. The Serie A match, which it's AC Milan and Como, I think, will be in Perth, Australia. Which that's a choice, fair enough. That is, by the way, weird fun fact of the day, the most isolated major city in the entire world. You might be wondering, Zealand, how is that true? Geography break. We don't have the money for special effects. Well, Perth, Australia is over here in the bottom left corner of Australia. There is no other major city in this part of Australia. There are obviously a couple down here, Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney. You got Hobart down in Tasmania, Brisbane. But yeah, there is no more isolated major city in the world than Perth. It's a fact. It's an interesting fact, right? Indonesia's all the way up here. There's obviously nothing going on down here except the wall, because the Earth is flat, obviously, and there's just a wall of ice down there. Clearly, you guys know that. That's the only thing that makes sense. Antarctica wouldn't make any sense. But that is where Serie A, in their infinite wisdom, has decided that they want to play a match. How does this happen? Right? Because obviously, every European fan group is in vehement opposition of this sort of thing, and they should be. Right? Even I am, and I'm American. I live in a world where NFL games happen in London like every week now, right? Which I think is also very different. But there's a lot of different things and thoughts going on here. But the most core thought to start with is that this is bad and it is dangerous. This is going to happen in December. Barcelona against Villarreal is going to be in December in Miami. Now, how does it happen? Well, given the relevant FIFA regulatory framework, which is currently under review, it is not clear and detailed enough. And the UEFA Executive Committee has reluctantly taken the decision to approve on an exceptional basis the two requests preferred. So what it sounds like is these requests were made, UEFA stalled and stalled, they can't stall anymore because this match is only a couple months away, December, which is apparently only a couple of months away, time flies. Now that's there. You have to make a decision, and the decision apparently has to be based on FIFA's regulatory framework for this sort of thing, which they note is under review. UEFA will actively contribute to the ongoing work led by FIFA to ensure that future rules uphold the integrity of domestic competitions and the close bond between clubs, their supporters, and local communities. I think that UEFA's hands might be tied here. With a statement this strong, kind of in the other direction, with a statement this strong saying basically like, look, we really don't want to do this, but we kind of have to. It feels like this is because of some not clear regulatory... The legal argument made by, I guess it would be La Liga, but Barcelona and Villarreal and Como and AC Milan, right? The argument that they have made is impossible for UEFA to stop. That might be the wrong impression. That's at least the impression that I've gotten, is that is, they're screwed. UEFA's screwed. But they've made it clear, or they've tried to make it clear, that this is a one-time thing. UEFA has reiterated its clear opposition to domestic league matches being played outside their home country. After the meeting of the executive committee, the UEFA undertook further consultations. The consultation confirmed the widespread lack of support that had already been raised by fans, other leagues, clubs, players, and European institutions around the concept that domestic league matches being relocated abroad. The funny thing is, despite all that opposition, the leagues are still pushing for it. Why are they pushing for it? Money. Obviously, this is the only reason anybody does anything in the world of football, really, is money. And money, of course, in financial fair play is more important than it used to be, which is a hilarious side effect of limiting it to how much money you make, because then how much money you make directly determines how much money you can spend, which means your goal should be to make as much money as possible. When before, you could make enough money and be like, yeah, I think we'll be okay. If we really want to go after somebody else, then maybe we can try and raise more money some other way. But there wasn't the same sort of logical imperative to go make as much money as possible to literally raise your spending limit directly. Right? Like you have the money to spend, but you need to bring more money in this particular year in order to like raise your salary cap. But it is a salary cap that all of these teams are working with. It's just, it just goes by a different name. It's a fluid salary cap. And they believe playing matches in the U.S. will make them more money. And it will. It will. They are right in that estimation. And if you're a Barcelona fan, even though you might be missing out on a home match here, this is not the worst thing in the world because you're going to make more money and then maybe you're in a little less debt. You can go sign another player or something. It is, however, super sucky because you can't watch the match in person, which you always do. And that is where you run into like the real danger. But the reason I brought that up is because if you want to fix this problem, you have to address that core issue, which is that this makes sense. The way the game works right now for Barcelona and Villarreal to try to do this. That's why they're doing it. They're not just doing it to be dicks. They're doing it because it makes the most sense for them to do this because they'll make more money playing the game in Miami than they will in Barcelona, right? That's the truth. But this isn't the NFL, right? And the NFL is playing games in Brazil, Ireland, England, Germany. They're playing games in all those places because American football only really popular in like two countries, Canada and the United States. Countries in America, North America, right? Northern, Mexico also, they play games down there every once in a while. Mexico's likes American football a lot more than your average country, that's for damn sure. But it's really the U.S. and Canada. And so playing those games abroad, while they do suck, and NFL fans do complain about it, right? That's something that probably does, because that would just be in the U.S. kind of media sphere. NFL fans do complain about the fact that they will lose a home game because their team's in Rio or something. But there is a more understood goal with that, and that is to grow the game. Right? That is to give people that might be going, hey, this American football thing's pretty cool, the opportunity to go to a game in London and be like, ooh, nice. It is not, I'm sure the U.S. does make more money playing a game in London than it does at home, but it is not with just that goal in mind. It isn't. It is an attempt to globalize American football, and it has worked, to be perfectly honest. I was in England during the NFL season last year, and I looked up a bar I could go to watch Red Zone and watch the games, and I went, and it was full of English people in jerseys for random-ass teams from, like, Missouri. And that was cool. That was an interesting experience. Probably like an English person coming to soccer's way more popular in the U.S. than the American football is in England, but generally speaking, like an English person staying in New York and going to the Arsenal bar and being like, oh, shoot, there's hundreds of people here to watch this Arsenal game or something. Right, but there was that vibe, and that is a goal, goal and a success story for the NFL and going and doing all of that stuff. But there isn't the same demand to see American football in England as there is to see, Barcelona play in the U.S. The demand to see Barcelona play in the U.S. is going to be higher. There's going to be more money to be made from that, especially when you're selling it like this is an actual league game. This isn't a friendly. All of the big guys are going to play like the entire match because it's not a friendly. This game actually counts in terms of points. And so those ticket prices are going to be jacked up, and they're going to make a lot of money. There's also going to be the whole exposure in the U.S. thing, not just for your club, but also for your stars. You think about Barcelona playing in the U.S. Well, Lamine Yamal is playing a competitive match in the U.S. That's huge news, right? That's stop the press's news. The people are gonna, it's gonna raise his profile. Maybe he appears in a few commercials, and then Barcelona as well. Everybody's trying to compete with the Premier League because the Premier League's kind of cornered the market in the U.S. Right? There are fan bars in New York for like Brentford. I would assume there's probably one for Real Madrid and Barcelona, but you're really not going to get, a ton of La Liga fan bars in the U.S. or organizations. The Premier League has that cornered because it's on, all of it's on TV every weekend in the morning, and people just get into it in that way. So how do you stop this? You either have to make it not make financial sense for them, or you just have to ban this. My only concern is I'm not sure if FIFA is capable of doing that, but you have to ban this. Because as an American, don't go all the way the direction of American sports. There are things that make football in Europe and in the world special that the US does not have when it comes to its sports. Like the connection to the community in professional sports in the US is not as there because it's not a club. It's a franchise. It's just a single entity. It's a single team. There is no academy for an NFL team. You draft the players coming out of college. If you want the closest thing to club football in the rest of the world, in the United States, it's college football. I'll tell you that college football is where you get your local identity, your community connection, kids from the community that go onto the field to play. Not always the case anymore, but that's not always the case in football in Europe or anywhere else, is it either? There's always a Brazilian playing in Thailand. He didn't grow up there. But college football is the closest thing that you get to that sort of atmosphere in the US. Professional sports is not. And the fact that they are these single entities makes it very easy for them to go and play in London or Brazil or whatever. There's not a whole lot that the fans can do. Maybe just boo a little. But with the clubs and that special connection to the community that football clubs have in the majority of the world, playing those matches outside of like a Super Cup in Saudi Arabia that's clearly just there to vacuum up money is a real threat to the heart of the game. One of the last few parts of the heart of the game that is unthreatened, which is that, the fact that the club is in the community. Right? A lot of things have changed. The money, the financial fair play, right? The sponsors, the things like the Super Cup. The one thing that you always knew, though, is that clubs are not going to move unless they're MK Dons. They're going to stay in that community, and they're going to play their league games in that community. And now that's in danger? Bro, you don't have a lot left after that.